Alright, 610 Miscellaneous Part 2 by Adam Nugent Rosenberger. Alright, 6010-0317 Participation in College Level Communication Computation Skill Testing Program by Non-Public Post-Secondary Institution Enrollment Making 1020 53-1B and 229-053-1B and 12 and D of 240-1077 in Florida State Law implemented 229-053-240 107 240 through 232 233, 240, 239, 243, 215, and 243, 25 Florida State history as of April 1st, 1991, repealed in May 2nd, 2010. 610-0318 Post-Secondary Preparatory Instruction Curriculum, Post-Secondary Readiness and Competency. The Post-Secondary Preparatory Instruction Curriculum provided in a public high school required for the students who do not meet the established scores on a approved assessment in accordance with the provision of 6A10-0315 Florida Administrative Code shall encompass the outlined post-secondary readiness competency for an appropriate subject. Florida Reading Post-Secondary Readiness Competency are determining whether the test says explicitly distinguish between facts and opinions, extract information efficiently and print out online using text features such and search techniques, determine the author's purpose, delineate the main ideas and themes of text detailed with elaborate and support them, discern the most important ideas, events, and information, summarize the accurately concise, determine what it means of the word or phrases in context, including cognitive meanings and figurative language, draw upon relative and prior knowledge to enhance comprehension, and note when the text expands the challenges to that knowledge, and analyze how specific details, large portions of the text contribute to the meaning of the text, analyze traits, motivations, thoughts of individuals in fiction, nonfiction, based on how they are described, what they say, what they do, and how they interact. K, determine when and why the events unfold in the text and explain how they relate to one another. L, ascertain the origin and credibility according to the print online sources, recognize relationship with the sentence between the sentences, identifying the interrelationship between the among ideas and concepts with the text and such causes and effects and relationships, and analyze how organizational structure and presence, the argumentated explanation, explanation and narrative, recognize tone, analyze how specific word chose, shapes, and meaning tones of text, detect biases, support challenges, assertions about text, and citing of evidence in text, explicitly determine what can be inferred logically from the text. Readiness competency for post-secondary preparatory instruction curriculum, post-secondary readiness competency. T, analyze how in two or more texts with different styles, points, and views argument the address of similar topics or themes. Demonstrate facility of specific readings and demand text drawn from differential disciplines including history, literature, science, and mathematics. Apply knowledge concepts gained through the reading of the build a coherent understanding of the subject, inform of the reading additional text, and solve problems. Evaluate the reasoning or rhetoric, the support or argument, explanation, including the assessing whether the evidence is provided them relevant and sufficient. 2. The Florida Writing Post-Secondary Readiness Competency are sustained focus on the specific topic arrangement, demonstrate command of the conventions of standard written English, including grammar, usage, mechanics, support, illustrate arguments, explanation, relevant details, examples, evidence, create logical progression of ideas of events, and convey the relationship among them. Establish finding topic theses that address the specific task or audience. Develop and maintain a style tone appropriate to the task and purpose of the audience. Choose a word or phrase to express ideally, concisely. H, assess the quality of one's writing when necessary, strengthen it through revision. Use varied sentence structures to engage the reader and achieve the cohesion between the sentence. Writing in form explains synthesis information, multiple relevant sources, including graphics, quantitative information, with appropriate to provide accurate picture of the information. When written to inform explain, conveying the complex information clearly, coherently to the audience through the purpose of selection, organization of content. L. When writing the inform, explain, demonstrate the understanding of the content, reporting the facts accurately, anticipating the reader misconception, representing the site of accurately the data, conclusion, opinions of others, effectively incorporating into one's own work while avoiding plagiarism. When writing arguments, establish a substantive claim, distinguish from alternate and opposing claims, writing arguments, linking claims, evidence, clear reasons, ensuring the evidence is relevantly sufficient to support the claims. When writing arguments, acknowledgement and acknowledge completion of arguments of the information, defending and qualifying the initial claim as appropriate. G. Gather information needed to build an argument, provide explanations, address the research a question, recognize effective traditional devices, the context of the passage, recognize commonly confused, misused for words or phrases, place modifiers correctly, use the coordinate, subordinate effectively, recognize parallel structures, avoid fragments, comma, splices, used sentence, avoid appropriate avoid fragments, comma, splices, and fused sentences. Avoid inappropriate shifts in verbal tenses. Maintain agreements between pronoun and antecedent. Avoid inappropriate pronoun shift. Maintain a clearly pronounced reference proper case of forms. Use adjectives or adverbs correctly. Use appropriate degree forms. Use standard verb forms. Maintain agreement between the subject and verb. Use standard and spelling, punctuation, capitalization. 3. The mathematical post-secondary readiness composition. Under the sole certain problems, equation number systems needed to extend the whole numbers of a set of all integers, positive, negative, and zeros, the integers to the rational numbers, from the rational numbers to the real numbers, the rational numbers, and the irrational numbers. Defining given examples each of the type of the numbers. Knowingly how to apply all algorithms, concepts, perform flexible, accurately, efficiently, explain and apply basic numbers, theory concepts such as prime number, factor, divisibility, learning common multiples and greatest common divisors. Add, subtract, multiple, divide, integers, fractions, decimals, solve multi-step problems involving fractions and percentages, local positions, numbers of the number line, knowing the distance of the origin of the absolute value, knowing that the distance between two numbers on the number line is the absolute value of the difference. G. Simplify sums, difference of absolute values, use mental strategies to formulate, represent, and solve problems, use estimation, approximation to solve problems. Use calculators appropriately, make estimations with a calculator regularly to detect potential errors, distinguish relevant to the irrelevant information, identifying misinformation, either the find which is needed or make an appropriate estimate, calculate and apply ratios, proportions, rates, and percentages to solve problems, recognize proportional relationships, solve problems, involve ratings, ratios, and rates and ratios, translate word problems into proportions, use interpret quantities and units, quality, or algebraic formulas, use symbols, mathematics correctly, precisely, interpret expressions, represent equality in terms in the context. Define variables and write in the expression to represent the quantity and problem. In a problem, evaluate algebraic expressions, simplify algebraic expressions, apply order of operations to evaluate algebraic expressions, including those of the parentheses and exponents. Solve the linear equations of one variable with the manipulations guided by the rules of arithmetic and properties of equality. Understanding the problem and formulate the equation to solve it. Use the mathematical study strategies to formulate a problem in mathematical terms, reach the solution, interpret the solution in context of the original problem. Translate the word, solve the word problems. Recognize solve problems that can modulate linear equation in one variable, such as time, rate, distance problems, percentage increase, decrease problems, ratio, proportional problems. Solve literal equations and specified variables. Solve linear inequalities in one variable graph solution set on the number line. Identify intercepts of the linear equation. Math given linear equations on the graph tables in order pairs, or understand the relationship between coefficients, linear equations, and slope, and the x and y intercepts of the graph. Use the families of the linear functions to solve the problem. Simplify an expression with integer exponents, and use scientific notation. Determine the relative position of the number line of numbers, the relative magnitude numbers expressed in fractional form and decimal form as roots or in scientific notation. Compare numbers, make such sense of the magnitude, add, subtract, multiply, and divide polynomials, divide monomials, binomials. Simplify radical expressions, add, subtract, multiply, square, or the monomals. Factor polynomial expressions, manipulate simple expressions. Q. Solve quadratic equations in one variable factors. Simplify rational experiences. Translate fluently between lines and coordinate and planes of their equations and solve systems of equations. The rulemaking authority for post-secondary preparatory instruction curriculum or post-secondary readiness competency. Authority 1008-33, the Florida State Laws, imitated 1008-30, the Florida State History, April 30th, 2012. Development educational competencies. A student who does not meet the standard scores of an approved assessment in accordance with the provision of 6A10-0315 must demonstrate successful mastery of the required development educational competency listed below before the student is considered to meet the basic computational communication skills and requirements. Reading. Reading. Evaluate the author's use of the facts and opinions. Analyze the author's primary purpose. Identify the topic of state implied main idea in multiple paragraph selection to the print and online. Use context clues, structural analysis to clarify the meanings brought in the academic vocabulary. Identify the use of contextual clues to determine meanings of words or multiple sentences. Identify specific information, multiple paragraph selections. Distinguish between major and minor details of multi-paragraph selection. Identify relationships between or within the sentence. Determine the primary, secondary patterns or organization paragraphs and multiple paragraphs in selection. Identify transition words that are associated with each of the pattern. Analyze the author's tone. Support the examples, including denotative, conative, meaning, figurative language, detect basis. Synthesize the information in the text in order to make an inference, to draw logical conclusions. Analyze the details to infer the author is implying, to draw logic conclusions in a paragraph or multi-paragraph selection. Determine whether an argument is logical, relevant, or adequately based on evidence provided in the passage. Writing. When using a pre-writing or drafting, revision, editing techniques, use syntax appropriate to standard written English. When writing, use a complete sentence. Abstain, focus on the specific topic or argument. Demonstrate the command of conventions of the standard written English, including grammar, usage, and mechanics. Support, illustrate in arguments, explanation of relevant details and examples. Create a logical progression of the ideas and events and convey the relationship among them. Establish these thesis addresses with specific tasks of audiences. Develop and maintain a style tone appropriate to the task, purpose, and audience. Choose word phrases to express the ideas precisely and concisely. Assess the quality of one's writing and when necessary to strengthen it through revision. Use verified sentence structures to achieve the cohesion between the sentences. When writing into and inform, explain students must convey information clearly, coherent. When writing to inform, explain students must demonstrate understanding of the content, reporting the facts accurately. Accurately incorporate sources and material in its own work while avoiding the plagiarism. When writing arguments, students must establish a substantial claim. When writing arguments, students must link claims of evidence to clear reason, ensure that the evidence is relevant and sufficient to support claims. When writing arguments, students must acknowledge competing arguments, information defending and qualifying of the initial claims and appropriate as gathering the information needed to be built in an argument, provide an explanation, address, research the question, recognize effective traditional devices of the context of the passage, recognize commonly confused, misused words and phrases, place modifiers correctly. Use coordinated, subordinated effects, recognize parallel structures, avoid inappropriate shifts in the verbal tense, maintain agreement between pronoun and accidents. Avoid inappropriate pronoun shifts, maintain clear pronoun reference, use proper case forms, use adjective and adverbs correctly, use appropriate degree forms, avoid fragments, comma splices, fuse sciences, and use standard verb forms. Maintain agreement with the subject and verb. Use standard spelling. Use standard punctuation. Use standard capitalization. Use technology as a total, produce, edit, and distribution in writing. Mathematics. Classify sets of numbers, identifying, applying with the properties of real numbers, the primary factorization of the number, the proper, perform the operations, integers with applications, perform operations with fractions, with applications, perform operations with decimals, with operations. With applications. Convert among the percentage, fractions, decimals, solve the percent equations with application, evaluate the absolute value expression, identify the place values, round decimals, identify the place value, round whole numbers, simplify the fraction, perform operations, whole numbers, while applications include area parameters, some formulas for with given values. Set up the solve ratios proportional with simple algebraic expressions, define variables written in expressions representing quantity in the in a problem. Evaluate the algebraic expression and find the value of 3x when x is 2. Simplify the expression involving one variable, 2x and 5x. Perform order of operations, including the absolute value of the graphing inequality of the number, evaluating the exponent integers, evaluate exponents with whole numbers, compare magnitude of real numbers. Solve multiple step problems involving fractions, percentages, including standard situations such as simple interest, markdowns, gratuities, commissions, fees, percentage increase, decreases, percent error, and expressing rent as a percentage of take-home pay. Recognize proportional relationships, solve problems involving rates, ratios. Employ order of operations, evaluate algebraic expressions, including those in the parentheses and exponents. Solve application problems involving geometry, Pythagorean theorem. Solve application problems including involving geometry, perimeter, area of the algebraic expression. Convert use of measurement within the same across the measurement system. Identify the slope of a line, slope of the formula, graph, and equation. Solve literal equations for the given variable. Application, geometry, motion, distance times equal to the rate. Simple interest of the interest principal, rate, and time. Solve linear equations in one variable. Graph of the solution set on the number line. Graph linear equations using the table of values, intercepts, slope, and intercept form. Solve linear equations in one of the variable using manipulations. Guide the rules of arithmetic properties of equality. Simplify an expression with the integer or exponents. Convert the between the scientific notation, standard notation. Identify the intercepts of a linear equation. Add, subtract, multiply, divide, and polynomials, division, monomials. Do not include division, binomials. Simply radical expressions, square root only. Add, subtract, multiply, square roots of nominals. Factor polynomial expressions, grouping trinomial differences in squares. Solve quadratic equations in one variable with factoring. Rationalize denominators, monomals, and only. Simply multiply, divide, rational expressions. Add, subtracted ratios expressing with monomials denominators. Rulemaking Authority 1834A, Florida State Statute implemented 1834A, Florida State History News, May 27th, 2012. Okay, moving on. 610A, 6 and 032. Post-secondary education contract programs and facilities. The purpose of the authorization of State Board of Contract Independent Post-Secondary Education Institute provision of the educational programs facility which meet the needs fulfilled by the state system. Post-secondary education is based on the principles of efficiency, effectiveness, economy. The State Board of the Contract of the program for the use of the existing facility is demonstrated that the state needs of the program facility may be lower or cost more effectively the contracting. In case of all the program obtained by the contract must be equally quality and similar programs of facility a state system of post-secondary education. Conditions of contract programs, the financial limitations of the conditions of the contract. The state subsidizes any contract of the program shall determine individual contract basis. Florida student enrolled for the contract program shall be required to pay no more than tuition, laboratory fees, and charged in the comparable programs in the state institution. No cost overruns shall be recognized in the case of the contract programs. Accreditation in an institution proposed in contractual programs shall be accredited with as provided by 229.053.20 of Florida State statutes. See enrollment limit. There shall be a maximum enrollment specified in the contract certified by the contractor during the term of the contract. Enrollment in a contract program falls below the maximum enrollment specified in the state subsidized shall be reduced proportionally during the contract period based on an actual enrollment of the program. The state support shall be limited to those of the students enrolled in the contract program who have been bona fide Florida residents of the preceding year. Residents shall be of the same residence requirement established by the Board of Regents. Student enrolled in state university system. See Rule 6C 7005 Florida Administrative Codes. Extension. The contract shall be subject to the annual appropriation funded by the Florida Legislature. The provision in Chapter 216 Florida State Law related to the executive reduction of the budget shall apply. State Board shall, subject to appropriation of adequate funds by the Florida Legislature, recommendation of the Post-Secondary Educational Planning Commission as specified in paragraph 3A. Here shall thou provide each of the students shall admitted in the contract program sufficient time to complete the program in a full-time status. 3. Any proposed contractual program that shall be represented in a post-secondary educational planning commission for the review of the recommendation of the state board in conducting with the review of the commission shall consider the following: an unmet needs addressed by the contract program, evidence of the adequate resource of the contracting institution, demand graduates from the contracting program. Any specialized accreditation from the contracting program. If appropriate, the state subsidizes the contract to determine the subsidize any contract program following the items shall be considered. A. The state operating costs for the comparable programs, additional state fixed capital outlay costs, startup costs necessitated by expenses creation of state programs, qualitative deficiency between programs, price level adjustments for the contract or renewals. 6. The capability of a state institution located nearest to the potential of the contractor to furnish all and part of the program. 7. Consistent of the program with the state master plan for the post-secondary education. The impact study of the state plan for the equalization educational opportunity. The department and other institution post-secondary licensed government boards and appropriate external consultants may be involved with the assisting of the commission to making a determination as to the program quality need. Based on the recommendation of the commission prior to the contracting program, the department shall include the contract program legislative budget request as separate and identifiable subject to the approval by the state board. Each contract program shall be administered with development should be subject to the periodic review of the Department of the Cooperation Post-Secondary Education Planning Commission. In addition, with the items specified in 3A above, the review shall consider the ratio of the students enrolled under the contract and the norm of the graduate procedures. The Commission shall provide the State Board with a recommendation of the annual renewal of each of the contract. The rulemaking authority is 229.053.1 Florida State laws implemented in 229.053.20, 240.147. 3. Florida State History News, April 18th, 1982, and formally 6/8/1032, amended on October 18th, 1994, and in March 3rd, 1997. Post-secondary instructional unit definitions. Definitions hereby and apply to the instructions in post-secondary career centers operated in school district and Florida college systems institutions. Credit is a unit of the measure assigned of the course of equivalent learning. The credit is awarded if the learning activity represents as a part of the preparatory for any organized specified program leading to it. In post-secondary certificate or degree, credit is devices and indicates to the learner educational institutions employer to other much of the program learner has been completed. The credit awarded may be independent when of where the learning occurs. If the learning activity does not meet these requirements, credit shall not be awarded. The only type of the post-secondary credit authorized are college credit. The college credit is type of credit assigned by the Florida college system institution to the courses equivalent learning that is part of the organized specified program leading to the baccalaureate associate's degree certification applied technology diploma pursuant to stipulations in subject 614.035.8 Florida Administrative Codes. One college credit is based on the learning expected with the equivalent of 15-minute period in classroom instruction. So one college credit is based on the learning expected in the equivalent of 15-minute periods of in classroom instruction, which 15 50-minute periods. Okay, so 15 15-minute periods of classroom instruction with the credit is such that the activities, laboratory instruction, internship, clinical experience determined institution based on the proportional of the direct institution laboratory access credit exercise internship hours and clinical practice hours. Lower Division College Credit. The Lower Division College Credit is assigned to the college credit to course offered by the freshman, sophomore, 1,000 to 2,000 level courses. Upper Division College Credit. Upper Division College Credit is assigned to the college credit courses offered by the juniors at 3,000 to 4,000 level courses. Clock hours. The clock hours unit assigned to the course equivalent learning is the part of an organized specified program learning to the career technical certificate applied with the technology diploma pursuant to stipulations 6A 14.036 and 9 Florida Administrative Codes. It applies to the post-secondary adult career courses as defined in Section 1004.0226 Florida State Law. 1 clock hour is based on the learning expected and equivalent in the 30 hours of 1 clock hour is based on the learning expected for the equivalent of 30 hours of instruction. For the purpose of Title IV student aid programs under the Higher Educational College should defer to Title 34, Section 688, the Code of Federal Regulations. More post 6A10-032 post education contract programs and facilities. Development credit. Development credit is the type of credit assigned with the Florida college system education courses that provide the degree seeking students who wish to enroll in the college courses additional academic preparation determined to be needed by the pursuant 6A10-0315 Florida Administrative Codes. One development credit is based on the learning expected from the equivalent of 15 50-minute periods of the classroom instruction. Development courses provided by the competency-based to develop college entry competencies and the communication computation skills described in 6A10-319 Florida Administrative Codes. The instructional credit. Institutional credit is post-secondary credit that is competency-based. Institutional credit is not guaranteed to automatically transfer. 2. Non-credit. Non-credit is an indication that the credit is defined here and is not awarded. It applies to instructional classifications of non-credit continuing education, adult, general education, citizenship, recreation, community education, community instruction, so all service, or the unit of measure is hours of instructions. The post-secondary instructional unit definitions. Rulemaking authority 1001-2-1 and 6C, 1001-03-12, Florida implemented 1001-02, 1001-03, 1004-93, 1007-24. Florida State History News as of July 13, 1983, amended on May 14, 1985, and formally 6A1033, amended on November 21st, 2005, and March 25th, 2013. The Career Education Student Follow-Up Requirements. To meet the Public Information Requirements, Section 1008-42-1 of School District Independent Post-Secondary Career Educational Technical Trade Business Schools, Florida College, Community College shall determine a post-secondary career educational placement status using one or more of the following procedures. The written questionnaire outlined at this rural state level, computerized employment data collected by the Florida Educational Training Placement Information Program, the FET-PIP, the written verification from the employer. The written questionnaire process shall collect the post-instruction outcome data, shall include and not include from exit interviews, from written questionnaires. Documentation audit purposes shall be kept on file for 3 years, including at least student name, social security identification number, student address, telephone number, whether continuing a post-secondary education, continuing post-secondary education, the name, address, institution where enrolled. If applied, if a career educational student follow-up requirements, if employed other than military employer's name, the address, occupational title of job in which the student is employed, the student signature date of the verifying information, what state level computerized employment data are used. Documentation consists of the data tape or a hard copy. The written verification employer should include the student name, social security number, occupational, and the under which the student is employed. A notice of intent conduct of the local follow-up survey must be provided by the local educational agency, independent school, to the appropriate division of the department. The career educational student follow-up requirement 6 is written notification indicate that the local educational agency, independent school, intends to conduct a local follow-up with the career educational completers. Levers the program in which the local follow-up will be conducted. Reason local follow-up and may request technical assistance. Anytime a local educational agency independents publish a program performance measures that are based at least partially on local follow-up data, and the notice of the inclusion that the data must be made in the written as part of the publication. The following statement must be displayed in prominent publication. As a result of the career of education program review locally collected by the career educational student follow-up data has been used to comply with this information. The methods used to collect this information are specified in state laws and rules. These data are available available for inspection upon request. Career Educational Student Follow-Up Rules Authority 1008-43-1B-4 and Florida State Law implemented 1008-42B-3, 1008-43-1 Florida State History News, June 23rd, 1987, amended on November 24th, 1987, and October 4th, 1993, June 18th, 1996, and June 22nd, 2010. Post-secondary feedback to student information to high schools. For data provided with the State University, Community College, State-supported career centers, and the Department of Education will maintain information performance of Florida public high school graduates on an entry-level placement pursuant with 6A10-0315 and 6A10-040 Florida Administrative Codes. By October 31st each of the year, the Department of Education shall provide the Commissioner of Education following the information student enrolled during the most recent academic year, being the summer session and ending of the spring semester, who prior to the year of the graduates of the Florida Public High School. The legal name, the social security number, the Florida student identifier, which is available, gender, race, the ethnic group, name of the number of the school, and school district from which the student graduated, the year of the graduation from the school. Report of the year, academic year student which enrolled in post-secondary education first academic year of the graduation from high school. Name of the post-secondary institution which the student was enrolled, and J, indicator of each of the three subtests which indicate whether the student scores the subtest was above or below the cutoff score or for the area pursuant with 6A 10-03-15. Florida Administrative Codes. The name of the entry-level placement used to place each of the student subtests of the entry-level placement in the areas of the reading, writing language, mathematics shall be maintained in the Department of Education, made available to the Commissioner of Education upon request. Each post-secondary center shall provide by October 31st of each year the same information prescribed in 2A through 2I of the rule pursuant in Section 1491 for the students who were prior to the graduate for the Florida Public High School for this reporting the post-secondary career students shall consist of the 6A 10-040 Florida Administrative Codes, which indicates whether the student upon completion of the required basic skills examination first six weeks from admission of the program was deemed to achieve the mastery of the required minimum level of the basic skills of the program pursuant to 6A 60571 Rule Florida Administrative Codes. Upon request of the post-secondary institution in which the student is enrolled, the Florida Public High School, the school has provided the transcripts of its graduates, including the record of the post-secondary courses in which the graduate enrolls during the first year after the high school graduation. Transcripts, performance of the individual student entry-level placement test, other impersonal identifiable student information may be used only for the educational pursuant section to 1002-22 Florida State law shall be released for the written consent of the student only the superintendent of the school district and principal for the school from the student graduated. Former information database maintained by the Department of Education Commissioner shall provide the Student Board of Education Board of the Governor's Legislature by November 30th, the school district high school by January 31st. And the summary reports performance of Florida Public High School graduates who enroll the post-secondary institution with 1 year after the graduation of the commissioner shall provide summary reports of the state of this whole for each of the school district. For each of the public high school student level reports shall provide the high school from which the school students graduate. The summary of the reports that indicate the number of the prior year graduates enrolled in state-supported career center, community college, state universities, Florida during the previous summer, fall, spring terms. Number of these students who scored an entry-level placement test indicates the readiness of post-secondary education or the need for remediation of the basic skills instruction, college preparatory instruction pursuant to Section 1004-92 and 1008-30. Florida State statutes. 6. The pursuant to Section 1008-37 of the Florida State statutes, each school district in high school shall include strategies in its school to improvement plan of improvement students' readiness for the post-secondary level based on the annual analysis of the feedback report. The post-secondary feedback of the student information of the high schools are rulemaking authority 1008-37-1 Florida State law implemented with 1008-37 Florida State history news. September 24th, 1984, form of 6A 1038 amended on November 7th, 1989, January 2nd, 1995, and December 18th, 2005. Registration for adult education students. As part of the registration for adult education students, each school district community college shall be required to collect, maintain, and file sufficient information to two purposes. First, to locate the student upon the termination of the instruction, and second, to determine the appropriateness of the student placement in the specific instructional programs. Registration information may be collected and maintained in electronic manual format. Required information. The following information shall be collected and maintained for each of the student enrolled in the adult general education program and adult post-secondary career program funded by the state. Name, permanent address, date of the birth, social security number is available for the Florida student number identified whether to accept the lifelong learners. The student has a high school diploma equivalent with the certificate in the course, the title, and the course number. School district requirement, an adult. In addition with the department, data required in subsection 2, the rule, information, reason for the enrolling shall be collected by the maintainer for each of the student enrolled in the adult basic or adult secondary course. For the reason intending shall include to achieve literacy, prepare for the general education diploma testing, general education development, GED test, or earn a high school diploma. School district requirements, job preparatory. In addition with the data required section 2, this rule information reason for the enrolling collected and maintained for each of the student enrolled with the adult educational preparatory course, job preparatory students as students who do not have a history of employment in the occupation seek to acquire entry-level occupation skills in order to obtain employment. 5. The retention requirement. Each school district community college shall be maintain the file of the data required by the rule for the electronic format hard copy of the period of 3 years until completion of all audits periods during which the course is offered, whichever occurs later. Other data requirements. School districts are to ensure that they comply with the information of the database requirements of the Comprehensive Management Information System as specified in Rule 6A10014 Florida Administrative Codes. College shall comply with the Community College Data Element Dictionary for elements required for the other state and federal law regulations. Rulemaking Authority 1008-405 Florida State Law implemented 1008-405 Florida State History News December 23rd, 1992 and amended in November 21st, 2005. Basic skills requirements for post-secondary career certification education. Students who enrolled in post-secondary program offered the career education credit of 450 hours more shall complete with the entry-level basic examination within the first 6 weeks after admission in the progress. The assessment instrument listed in paragraph 1A through 1E of this rule, English version only, are designated to access the student's mastery of the basic skills shall be used accordingly standardish established to be test administrative interpretation set forth of the standard educational psychological testing APA, AERA, NCME, and 92, and with appropriate accommodation for the student with disabilities specified in 6A10943 Florida Administrative Codes. The test of adult basic education TABE, completely battery of the survey forms 9 through 10, 2003, Florida College Entry Level Placement Test, Multiple Assessment Placement Services Maps, where authorized tests, Adult Basic Education TABE, Complete Battery of Survey Form 7 and 8, 1994, Test of Adult Basic Education Work-Related TABE, or TABE Work-Related, WR, 1994, Wonderlic Basic Testing is WST 1994. Skills scores corresponding to minimum basic skills grade levels each career educational program description on top of the 6A 605571 published annually commissioned in the document entitled the Career Education Program Courses Standards shall be determined basic skill level required to completion of the career program scales with a comparison charts available for the Department of Education 325 West Gainey Street, Tallahassee, Florida 32399. Students deemed to lack required minimal level of basic skills are measured by the one designated examination shall provide the instructional specifically designated to correct the deficiencies. 4. As after a student completes the remediation prescribed for the basic skill deficiencies, the student shall be retested using the alternative form, if possible, same examination that was used for the initial testing. No student shall be awarded the career certificate unless the student achieves the minimum level of the basic skills required for the program. Department of Education adult students with disabilities defined 1004-027 in the Florida State statutes may exempted from the meeting of the career basic grade level required completion of the careers program described in subsection 2 of this rule. Each school district community college must adopt the policy addressing procedures for accepting eligible students with a disability from the basic skills exit requirements as permanent in section 100491 Florida State statutes. Procedure for the students whose first language is not English. No student except for the rule of because of the language deficiency, one of the approved basic assessment instruments cannot be administered with alternative assessment in subsection 7 of the rule should be used for the initial testing. Limited English proficiency students, LEPs, shall be given the English language instruction and remediation and basic skill as needed to improve proficiency. The math assessment may be measured one of the designated tests in this subsection 1 of the rule. The limited English proficiency students must achieve the minimum grade level scores or higher on one of the designated tests in subsection 1 of the rule as required of the department to be awarded the certificate of completion in the career program. If the student has achieved the minimum basic skills grade level scale scores on one of the designated tests subsection 1 of the school shall be acceptable for the period of 2 years. The program administrator must receive the copy of the test scores from the institution when administrative the test of the official copy of the transcript. The test limited in subsection 1 do not meet the initial assessment needed of the adult student. One of the following alternative assessment instruments may be used within the first 6 weeks for diagnostic or remediation purposes only. Adult Language Assessment Scales, Alias, 1991, Bridgency Employment Skills, 1995, Bridgency Life Skills, Comprehensive Testing and Adaptive Behaviors, the CTAB, 1987, Comprehensive Adult Student Assessment Test, Cassius, Life Skill, 1996, and Reading and Listening, Comprehensive Adult Assessment System, Cassius Stretch, 1996. Comprehensive Adult Assessment System Cassius Test for Special Populations 1996. The Kaufman Functional Academic Skill Test is known as KFAS in 1994. Literacy Volunteers of America LVA English Second Language Oral Assessment ESLOA 1995. Comprehensive Adult Students Assessment of the Cast, Life, and Work of the 2001 Reading. Students who possess a college degree associated with the applied science level, whoever completed and are accepted for the college level communication skill examination class pursuant to the section 1008-229 Florida State statutes, who are exempt for the college entry level examination pursuant to section 1008-29 Florida State statutes, who have passed the state national industrial license exam are exempt for the rule. This designated program administrator must receive the official copy of the degree and transcript of the test score. The specific authority is 1001-021, 1004-91-1, Florida State law implemented in 1004-91, Florida State history of October 8, 1985, formerly 6A-1040, amended by the May 22nd, 1998, and September 5th, 1993, and November 25th, 1997, and January 24th, 1999, and April 26th, 2006. The Testing Administrative Security Test Amendment 610-042. The Test Administrative Security Test Amendment is implemented in accordance with the requirements of Section 1004-93, 1008-22, 1008-30, 1012-55, and 1012-56. Shall be maintained administrated in a secure manner that such as the integrity of the test shall be preserved. Tested questions shall be preserved in a secure manner. Individuals developing, validating the test, such as individuals, shall not reveal any manner verbally or written in the test question under development. The test individual questions shall not be revealed or copied or otherwise reproduced of the person who is involved in the administrative proctoring or scoring of any of the tests. Examined shall not be assisted in administrative test questions or any of the means person administrative proctoring of the administration of any test. Examinees' answer to the question shall not be interfered with any of the way of the person administrative the proctoring or scoring the exams. Examinee shall not give an answer key by any person. Persons who are involved in administrating proctoring the test, persons to teach, otherwise prepare examinations for the test, shall not examine or in direct aid of the counsel, assist, or encourage any activity which could result in an accurate measurement of the reporting of the examinee's achievement. Each person who accesses the test questions during the development, printing, and administrative scoring of the test shall be informed of the specific and shall be informed of specific for maintaining test security, the provision of the statute rule governing test security, description of penalties and breaches for the test require security. 8. During each of the test administrative school districts and institutional test administrative coordinators and the contractor employing the test administrative the proctor shall ensure the required testing procedures be followed as all test administrative sites. Official department authorized to conduct unannounced observation test administrative procedures at test administrative site to ensure the testing of the procedures being correctly followed. Test materials, including all the test booklets and other materials containing secure test questions, answer keys, students, and response should be kept secure, precisely accounted from the accordance with the procedures specified with the examination program, administrative manuals, other communication provided by the department, such as procedures shall include, but not limited to, the following. Test materials shall be kept in secure locked storage prior to the after administrative any of the tests. All test materials shall be precisely accounted for the written and documentation kept for the administrative proctor for each appointed test materials distributed and returned. The discrepancy noted the number of the serial numbers testing materials received for the contractor shall be reported to the department designated initial school district personnel prior to the administration of the test. Okay. Each person who has access to the test questions during the development of printing and administrative scoring of the test shall be informed of specification for the maintaining of the test security for the provisions of the statute rule governing the test security, a description of the penalties for the breach of test securities. During each administration, school district, institutional test administrative coordinators, contractor, employee test administrative practice shall ensure the required testing procedures followed by the test administrative sites. Officials of the department authorized to conduct unannounced observation test administrative procedures at the testing administrative site to ensure the testing procedures are being correctly followed. Test materials, including test booklets and other materials containing secure test questions, answer key students' responses shall be secure, precisely accounted for in accordance with procedures specified in the examination program. The administrative manuals of communication provided with the department's procedures include, but not limited to, the following: all test materials shall be kept in secure locked storage prior to after the administrative of any of the tests. All test materials shall be precisely accounted for the written and documentation kept in the test administrative practice for each of the point where the test materials are distributed and returned. Any discrepancy noted with the number of the serial numbers of the testing number received to the contractor shall be reported to the department designated institutional school district personnel prior to the administration of the test. In the event of the test materials are determined to be missing while the possession of the institutional school district designated institutional school district personnel shall investigate the cause of discrepancy, provide the department report the investigation within 30 calendar days of the initiation of the investigation. At a minimum, the report shall include the nature of the situation and the time client is in occurrence with the name of the persons involved with the witness, occurrence and the official of the department, and the authorized conduct of the additional investigation. In those cases, responsibility to secure destruction of the certain test materials assigned by the department and designated instructional school district personnel. Responsible institutional school district representative shall certify the writing that such destruction was accomplished in a secure manner. In those cases, the test materials are permitted the department maintain institutional school district test materials shall be maintained in secure manner and specified instruction provided by the department. Access to materials shall be limited to individual purposes specified in the department. And 3, in the situation with the employee of the educational institution, school district, contractor, employee of the department suspects student cheating of the test, suspects other violation provisions, report shall be Department of the Test Support Contactor as specified in the test administrative procedures top 10 calendar. The report shall be include description, incident, and the names of the person involved, the witness, incident, other information of as appropriate official for the department, and it's authorized to conduct additional investigations. For the violation of the test security provisions shall be subject to the penalties provided by the state board rules. School district and public educational institutions select section 1003-49 and may contract third-party contractors to administrative practice statewide standardization assessment required under the section 1008-22 Florida State Statute assessment associated with the Florida approved course of the section 1003-499 Florida State statutes. School districts, educational institutions must not require the contractor to provide a safe, comfortable facility that does not interfere with the student's ability to demonstrate mastery on the test. School district and educational institution third-party contractor use of contracted affiliates to such franchises shall not reveal the district institution obligation to provide access statewide testing, Florida virtual school, virtual charter virtual school students pursuant to section 1002-33, 1002-37, 1002-45-6B Florida State statutes. The contract must adhere to the test adhere to all test administrative security protocols as described by the department pursuant to section 110-81C Florida State statutes shall be subject to all provisions of the rules. The contractor must not collect or not maintain any student personnel identified with the information beyond the required test administrative technology. Administrative computer-based tests must be assessment and technology guidelines, online test security requirements as prescribed by the department pursuant to section 110-81C Florida State statutes. Rulemaking authority 1001-02, 1003, 49, 1008, 24 Florida State law implemented 1003, 449, 1008, 24 Florida State history news as is. The July 5th, 1987, and amended on October 26, 1994, and November 3rd, 2013. The non-public college participation in statewide course numbering system. A public school college participating in statewide courses numbering the system pursuant to Section 1007-24 state statutes. Eligible requirements: in order to participate in the institution must be eligible to pursuant in Section 1007-27 6 Florida state statutes, agree to abide by the state requirements, responsibilities, and unless except from paying the subsection of from paying by Section 1007-34 6 Florida state statute, pay the required fees. Fee schedule. The fee charged of the participation institution application fee, the non-refundable application fee of $1,000 must accompany each of the non-public institutional applications for participations in a statewide course numbering system. Entry. The unit cost per course of the entering, modifying, termination course of the statewide course number system includes administrative personnel expense, capital cost of the system, maintenance fee. The unit's cost of the maintenance courses in the system, including computing, programming, and printing costs. Fiscal year. The period of which the fees calculated shall be July 1st through July 30th. Payment in any invoice detailing entry of the maintenance fee shall be sent to each participating non-public institution annually 60 days of the close of the fiscal year. The fees incurred by each of the colleges shall be payable to the department within the 60 days of the invoice. An institution which fails to pay shall withdraw from the system. A special review site of the visit fees. A special review site of the visit request for the institution not accept the fees. The judgment of the department. Special review of the site visit is required to ensure the compliance with of a fee of $300 for the assessed of the review. If the site is required for a fee of $300 per day, will be assessed for each department representative conducting the site review. Reinstatement application fee. Within 12 months of the following termination, participation in the system of an institution may apply to the reinstatement without having to go through the application process. All outstanding fees may be reinstatement application fee of $300 must be paid to the eligible reinstatement. In the event of the reinstatement being denied, the same application fee should be refunded. All fees and other funds collected by the statewide course numbered system shall be deposited in institutional assessment trust fund created by the Section 1010-83 Florida state statute should be available to the authorized expenses of the system. Any public college or school which has not been accepted to participate in the statewide course numbering system under the conditions the rule has been withdrawn, participating in the system shall not use system course classifications and identification systems to record the courses of the students' transcripts, otherwise documented courses offered by the college schools using the system. Any college deemed the violation of the section shall be subject to denial, prohibition, revocation, license, certification, exemption, or other disciplinary action to pursuant to Section 1005-38 Florida State Statutes. The rulemaking authority for non-public college participation in statewide course numbering system is 1007-24-6 Florida State Law 1007-24. Florida State History News of September 6, 1988, and amended in March 13th, 1995, and December 18th, 2005. Residence and tuition purposes. The purpose of the rule will establish consistent policy for the classification of students as residents for the tuition purposes in accordance with the criteria set forth in Section 1009-21 Florida State Statutes. For initial determination of residence, documented the students who attend the Florida high school for a minimum of 2 academic years immediately preceding her initial enrollment in an institution of higher education, graduated Florida high school, earned the Florida GED with the last 12 months may be issued the high school transcript of the GED transcript, evidence of the Florida residence, at least one additional documentation identified with the Section 1009-21-3C1 and 1009-21-3C2 Florida State statutes must be presented evidence of parental legal residence. In declaration of domicile pursuant to Section 222.17 is being used as one of the documents established by the residence tuition purposes. The date of the application shall be deemed established for residence of tuition purposes shall be the 12 months hence of the date of the clerk of circuit board's notice of the declaration sworn to the scribe of them. Nothing in subsection shall prevent the use of additional documentation of evidence the legal residence established by and other means pursuant to Section 1009-21C and Florida State statutes as dated the earlier as established the document. The declaration of domicile. 2. For residency reclassification determination, a student who is classified as non-resident for tuition purposes must be eligible for reclassification as a resident for tuition purposes, presenting a minimum of 3 documents identified in Section 100921 3C1 through or 100921 3C2. The convincing demonstrated the establishment of the establishment of the permanent legal address, legal residency in Florida, other than the sole purpose of the pursuing special secondary education documentation demonstrating the student of, or if the student is dependent of his or her parent, is maintained with legal residence of Florida at least 12 months consecutive prior to his or her request of the reclassification. The burden of proving clearing and convincing documentation justifies the institution classification of a student as his resident tuition purposes for assess the student, or if the student is dependent as his or his parent. The documentation will clear, convincing, most credible, trustworthy, sufficient pursuant to the institution of the student, or if the student dependent as his or her parent has established legal residency in Florida is not solely the purpose of pursuing educational relinquished residency in any other state for at least 12 consecutive months prior to the classification. Each institution of higher education may establish submission deadlines for all documentation that will be used for the determination of residency of tuition and purpose. 4. A student may be eligible to establish residency of the tuition purposes if the student is one of the following: a foreign national, non-immigrant visa classification eligible for student. Date of departure for that is during the term the student will be enrolled. The student must be present, current with evidence of legal presence in the United States, and student visa should not be accepted as evidence of eligibility or established residency. Foreign nationals such as permanent residential aliens, parolees, asylees, human Haitian entrants, and other legal aliens granted indefinite stay and status of eligibility or study of the United States. A U.S. citizen, and 5. Each institution residential appeals process established pursuant to Section 1009-2112 Florida State statute shall be written and prominently displayed on the institution's website. The rulemaking authority for the residency of tuition purposes of 1009-2113 Florida State law, implemented 1009-21 Florida State history news of October 6, 1992, and amended on October 17, 2003. March 22nd, 2005, and July 22nd, 2010, and October 22nd, 2013. Tuition fees exemption for the Florida National Guard. Rulemaking Authority 229-053-1, 240-235 Florida State Law, implemented 240-225-8, 243-35-4A, and 250-210-7. Florida State History News, as in February 18, 1993, repealed, and is tuition and fees exception for the Florida National Guard has been repealed in July 27, 2011. The Recovery Network Program, the 6A10050 through 610-053 Florida Administrative Code implementation, Section 1012-798 and Florida State statute establishes recovery network program to assist educators who are impaired as the result of alcohol, drug abuse, or mental condition obtaining treatment to permit their conditional contribution to the educational profession. The administrator employed by the department shall be responsible operating the recovery network program. The administrator may delegate authority to the professional who are contracted with the department. Combination thereof, the department delegates the contracted supervisor responsibility regarding the data operation recovery network program to professional have as a minimal qualification master's degree in the area of mental health or psychiatric specialty, or at least 5 years of experience with working with clients who have been diagnosed with substance abuse and mental health difficulties. Off non-clerical staff, the office of the professional with whom department contracts this person and meeting one of the more of the following criteria: licensed, good standing issued by the state of Florida as a mental health counselor, psychologist, or psychiatrist, certification of state authorized certification board as an alcohol drug specialist, experience managing employee assistance programs, demonstrating exceptional written and verbal communication skills, demonstrating skill in representing effectively large, small audiences, experiences in counseling in areas of substance abuse and mental health difficulties, demonstrated administrative skills, areas of policies, program development, implementation, organization development, strategic planning, goal setting, budget preparation, personal management, and experiences as certified educator. Rulemaking authority for recovery network program is 1001-021, 1012-798, and Florida state laws implemented in 1012-798, and the Florida History News of January 2nd, 1995. approval of treatment programs and treatment providers. The Recovery Network Program Administrator shall approve the treatment provider, shall designate the particular type of improvement problems for which the treatment provider is approved, shall provide ongoing monitoring, evaluation, proof of the treatment providers, including site visits, shall investigate residents, improve of the treatment provider who fails to meet the criteria. Initial continuing approval of the Recovery Network Program Administrator shall comply and maintain lists of approved treatment providers for each of the type of the impairment problem. The minimum qualifications of the improvement treatment provided by the treatment program, approved by the treatment provider, is an individual certified by the state, approved by the certification board, state licensed, national certified certification license, or being the treatment of specific impairment identified must have at least 3 years of experience treating the specific impairment. The approved treatment programs must be state licensed clinical setting, comprising at least 2 approved treatment providers, and if not located in state Florida, must be national accredited, must meet all requirements of licensures in state, and where located, and must compromise at least 2 approved state treatment providers. Approved treatment providers must submit the following Recovery Network program. Proof of accreditation from a Joint Commission accreditation of a healthcare organization, JCAHO, including JCAHO, the report of the program, proof of the financial ability to operate in accordance with Chapter 394, 395, and 397 of the proof for state laws, proof of liability insurance and coverage, proof of accreditation, Council of Accreditation Rehabilitation Facilities, proof of financial ability to appropriate with the accordance of Chapter 397 Florida State Law, proof of liability incurrence coverage, proof of licensure to appropriate specific impairment identified as treatments under the Chapter 394, 395, and 397 Florida State Statute. Treatment providers programs which should become approved must agree the following. The program must designate one of the treatment program directors responsible to properly prompt responsive information requests concerning educator, parent, patients between the Recovery Network and program. Provider of the program provides monthly progress reports to the Recovery Network program unless more frequently reporting a specified Recovery Network program. A program must refrain from the using of the mentoring of the treatment program names of the Recovery Network program, approve the advertisements of the other public correspondence. A provider of the program must interview with the Recovery Network program immediate with the educator who has been referred to the Recovery Network program who has chosen to evaluate and treated by the provider program. A provider program must be provided not less than 5% of the total inpatient population services of indigent. A provider of the program must not charge the impaired educator as fees, charges, and other services provided by the amount that exceeds the responsibility prevailing fees. Charge the same similar services and providers of the program local area. In order to retain approval, the provider of the program shall ensure that the maintained qualifications of the required of the approval specified in subsection 2 and 3 of this rule. Impaired educators are evaluated and they're treated fairly, with equability, uniformly, without reference to race, religion, national origin, sexual preference, or gender or social status. Impaired education will receive treatments which meets to exceed the standard of care required for the law and by professional standard of practice. The administrator determines the approval of the programs to the rest inside. The administrator shall provide written notice to the state's grounds to determination effective date of the rescission, the reasonable period in which the effective provider in the program must request proceedings pursuant to Section 12057 Florida State Statutes. The approval treatment program treatment providers of the rulemaking authority 1001-02-1, 1012-798-12 Florida State laws implemented in 1012-798 in Florida State history January 9, 1995. Participation in a Recovery Network program. Educators temporarily admitted to participate in the Recovery Network program upon the administrative receipt of the written system. Any of the form that identifies the educator from a person who holds a certification issued by the department pursuant to the Section 112-1256 Florida State Statute, including certification number, dates, and coverages, identifies the type of the nature of the impairment problem in which the request is admission. And the Commissioner enters the deferred prosecution agreement result of the complaint alleging the impairment due to the mental illness, misuse of the addiction, chemical substances dependency, liability pursuant to Section 1012-796-3 in Florida, all referring to the concerned complaint shall be forwarded to the Recovery Network program. If educators practice commission files and final orders pursuant to Section 1012-796-7 and 1012-179-5, requiring the impaired educator to participate in the Recovery Network program, the Educator Practices Commission shall forward a copy of the final order to the Recovery Network program, which shall advise the educator or how to comply with the conditions of final orders to pertain to participation in the program. An educator who is temporarily admitted to the program pursuant to Section 1012-798A shall be entitled to receive the full benefit services Recovery Network program when he or when she or he has provided all information needed for the completing screening, determination, nature, extent of the impairment indicated by the treatment services, executed limited waiver of the confidentiality, allowing the recovery of the network program treatment provided, discuss the educational participation program, discuss such as the participation educator, current, future employers, relatives. The limited waiver of confidentiality shall apply only to the educator participation recovery network program. Agreed to follow the plan of the treatment, appropriate length of the severity of the improvement, the recognize the incorporated requirements of the recovery network program in the case of the impaired due to the chemical dependency included the initial evaluation treatment plan structure to include continuing care groups, appropriated self-help 12-step pro groups, or impaired educator support groups. In case of the impaired conditions of the chemical dependency through the initial evaluation treatment plan, follow-up with care is addressed and needed for the rehabilitation monitoring conditions outlined by the treatment provided in cooperation with the Recovery Network program. Agree to participate in the Recovery Network program as a period of time determined by the Recovery Network program consolidation with treatment provided. The length of the time of the participation, a minimum of 24 months, unless determined otherwise. Treatment provided or is consolidation of the Recovery Network. Agreed to monitoring the treatment of the continued care of the Recovery Network program. Prior to the being evaluated, the purpose and determination of the treatment program, educators participating in the Recovery Network program shall provide with a list of those approved treatments, provided treatments programs which are capable of providing appropriate evaluation and enable educators to make fully informed decisions regarding the provided or program chose to the strength and commitment that succeeds involving selection process, except with the involuntary treatment provision, Chapter 397 Florida State Statute otherwise require. 6. Education or patients should not be denied access to approved treatment providers all in treatments programs located in the states of the outside of Florida. The Recovery Network program shall obtain the treatment provided with a written evaluation, including the history, examination, test results, diagnosis, prognosis, as well as the opinion as to the severity of the impairment of the treatment plan. The Recovery of the Network program is a decision whether the treatment provider shall determine the level of participation educated of the program based on the length and severity of the impairment satisfaction terms of participation needed further in treatment. 9. Based on the treatment provider's education of the Recovery Network for determination of the educator level participation, a written agreement shall be signed with the treatment provider, the educator, and the recovery program that specifies the plan for the treatment required of the educator to fill responsible set forth in subsection 8 of this rule. 10. A responsibility participation in the Recovery Network program, the educator shall A. make satisfactory progress in the original amendment of the treatment plan accepted of the Recovery Network program. B. Immediately submit the unannounced random blood or urine screens. It is directed by the Recovery Network program as requested by the treatment provider or the employer. The educator shall pay the laboratory examinations. Responsible submission of the program progress reports are determined by the Recovery Network program. Agree to perform professional activities of employment in situation participation limitations if in any treatment plan through the Recovery Network program, taking an amount of decision school district pertaining to the leave and scope of the employment. E. Comply with the requirements imposed in accordance with Section 1012-798 and the Florida State Statute pertaining to the participation of his or her profession in the manner that does not endanger the health, safety, and welfare of the students, colleagues, and the general public. After the remaining free of alcohol, other substance dependency, liability, substance abuse, as prescribed by educators, primary physician consultants, treatment providers, and recovery network programs. I have a primary care physician with participation in the Recovery Network program authorized for the educator confer with the treatment provider with regard to treatments impaired educator about the time of such treatment. Agree the Recovery Network program notification employer if there's immediate serious danger to health and safety, welfare, and general public. The Participation Recovery Network is a rule-making authority of 1001, 021, 1012, 798, 12, Florida State laws implemented 1012, 798, Florida State History News, January 2nd, 1995. And that does it for miscellaneous part 2, 6A10.